Hello, everyone, and welcome to Football Manager Therapy. I am, of course, your host, Tony Jameson, and joining me, as always, is the one and only Rich
Tony.
Owens. Rich, how the devil are you, pal?
What are you doing, mate?
What?
What are you doing?
The podcast, the Football Manager podcast.
No, this is my podcast now, Tony.
But
Everything's.
You said do the podcast.
No, you left. Do you not?
This
is awkward.
So you're in charge now.
I'm in charge now. This is you left me in charge. You left me in charge. You said, Rich, you've got the podcast now, and then you left me in charge. Then I've been in charge. It's been a year.
It's been a year already.
It's been a whole year, mate. I'll tell you what. We'll do the intro. We'll run the music, and then we'll work this out when we come back. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week, we have 2/3 of the FM team. We have the United City FM Kev. We have Jebaroo in corduroy hat corner with me, and joining, we've got a special guest. You've already seen him at the beginning of the podcast. Special guest, returning host, friend of the people, friend of mine, friend of yours, good hair haver. Tony Jameson. Tony, how are we, mate? Welcome back.
Very well, very well. Thank you, boys. How are we? It's nice to be back. Look at this. Reunited in a way.
It's nice, isn't it? It really is. It's lovely. It's lovely. We've been trying to, logistically work this out for a little while, and I'm really, really happy that it's happened. I'm really, really happy that it's happened. Kev, you're sat. We've done this before. This dynamic has previously existed on podcast, hasn't it? So this must be a nice little nostalgic trip down memory lane for you.
It's amazing. I mean, they said, come and do the Football Manager Therapy podcast. They said, come and co-host it. I thought, lovely. I get a chance to work with Tony. And then Tony ran away. And that's about as much as I've seen of him since. But, what can you say? It's good to see you, mate. It's good to have you in. It's great to be here. This is a lovely part of my week and a Sunday morning record. It's good to see you boys as well.
Oh, bless you, mate. That was in hindsight. Here's an exciting look behind the curtain. That was how I got everybody. I messaged Kev, I messaged Alison, I messaged Jeb. I was like, look, we're looking for new, co-hosts on pod. Are you interested? They're like, God, I'd love to work with Tony. And I was like, yes. So would I. And that's how I got them all in. Jeb, how are you doing, mate? Are you well?
Someone's at the door earlier. I don't know if you realised.
Okay.
yeah. I think it's Callum. Where's I'll let Callum in. Anyway. So I haven't done a podcast with Tony before. The last time we were on any type of panel, we had to delete the VOD, but let's not go any further on. Hopefully, we don't have to delete the evidence of this.
Well, just again behind the curtain, I've not started drinking hooch at 11 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So,
follow-up question: why? I mean, that's surely it's part of everyone's procedure.
That's technically part of your 5 a day, and it's fruity-based goodness. So,
absolutely.
Why the hooch? Why was the VOD? I'm not going into why the VOD was deleted.
Well, let's just blame hooch. Other Alco Pops are available, and drinking enough of them will cause the necessity for you to delete content. People think there's coffee in this High School Musical 2 mug, but no, it's
never is.
It's just vinegar. Just straight up vinegar. I'm a very, very angry man.
Breakfast booze, the best booze there is.
Exactly. Other times of day are available, but why not start early? It's Sunday. I've got nowhere to be today. I'm very, very excited. So thank you so much for coming back and having a bit of a catch up with us, because we've missed you. The audience. They've gotten used to us now. And then you coming back, you've made the podcast more handsome straight away. Not that it wasn't before. But just we thought we'd reached our quota, but no, we just pushed it ever so slightly over the edge.
I don't know. I mean, Callum's a dashing man, so
that is true. That is fair.
He is. Yeah. He is a handsome boy. He is a handsome boy.
Don't you, Jeb?
This is it. Yeah, Callum is not with us this week. Waiting on the arrival of Y Baby. So we miss you terribly, mate, and I'm sure we will see you very, very soon. And I hope you're having a lovely, as relaxing time as you can possibly have before the arrival of Y Baby.
Because you're not going to get any relaxing times after that, let's be honest.
Yeah. Welcome to the parenting section of the podcast. Right then, you're going to be tired forever. Yeah, you've chosen this life. Yeah, you've chosen this life. Because if we all know, there's nothing more relaxing than the days before the due date of the arrival date of a baby. Super relaxing, super chill. You're not on edge every time your wife hiccups at all. So he'll be super calm. But yeah, we miss you, mate, and we'll see you very, very soon, I am sure. I suppose if we look at the grand scheme of things, Tony, last time we were recording podcasts together, we were wildly speculating about what FM23 was going to be like. We've now lived through FM23. Some of us have had a wonderful time. Some of us have survived Football Manager 23.
Barely.
And been told off by Luke Chadwick for it. Sorry, Luke. Sorry. We talk about, people's content on this podcast quite a lot. We talk about what the wider community are up to. We've been super lucky this year on FMT because we've talked about this previously. I think pound for pound, Kev's Homeward Bound journey and Callum's incredible kind of experience with Slough have been some of my favourite content of the year. Also very, very high up there for me has been the Tony Jameson British Steel Challenge. I mean, it's... In terms of what you have accomplished this year with your content, with your save, just with your Football Manager experience, looking back at it now after the last year, are you happy with where you finished up?
Oh, mate, first of all, thank you for saying that you've enjoyed it. But you're right. Kev's Homeward Bound save, the idea of it was not something I'd considered before. And then when I obviously started at the start of FM23, I was like, that's a really smart idea. And the story that was playing out, of course, was going to have twists and turns. And poor Kev, was basically playing it perfectly in terms of telling that story. Callum, we've all done one club saves. We've all tried one club saves. Callum, again, managed to get the backing of the club and the fans, and he ran with that one. Jeb having, Pescara 85 seasons, in Serie A, buying every single player that's 42 years old, and then Rich, doing the Scandinavian Challenge with West Ham, which I didn't see coming, to be honest. I was like, oh, it's the West Ham way, apparently, all of a sudden. But yeah, there's been so many people making so many great things this year, and I think the British Steel Challenge that I was doing, it was one of those ones where I wanted to do something a little bit different. I know a few people have tried it before, and I was like, you know what? FM22, I didn't have the best time in FM22. I think I was sacked in the beta, and I didn't have a particularly great run with my save. I started it as a builder nation in Indonesia, and then I sort of lost a bit of faith in what I was doing and just sort of went, oh, we'll just do journeyman because that's kind of what I do, and relegation battles and stuff. And it was fine. There was no sort of point to it really. So I thought I needed something that was quite tangible that could give us a focus for an entire year. And the British Steel Challenge was something that came up in conversation. I was like, right, let's have a little look at that then. So for those people who don't know what the British Steel Challenge is, there's two ways of playing it. So you can do the British Steel Challenge, which is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Or there's the British and Irish Challenge as well. Of course, you can add the Republic of Ireland in as well. Now, just doing the challenge that we did was 35 trophies. So you've got to win every single league and cup in those four nations. Now, that's quite tricky for a start. Okay, that's 35 trophies. Promotions do count as a trophy, by the way, as well. So you can sort of scale it back a little bit to make it a bit more accessible. So you do physically have to win Vanarama North and South, and then the National League, and then League 1, 2, go up and down. You have to win Cymru Premier and Cymru North and Cymru South. And you've got to go all up and down. So your reputation as a manager is going up, of course, but there might be times when you could potentially end up winning the Premier League and then have to go back to try and win the second division in Scotland. That's how it's got to be. Some of the cups, however, particularly in Northern Ireland, are regional. So you can't just pick the best team in Northern Ireland and win all the cups because you're not actually in some of them. So that's a bit of a tricky one. You've also got to win the Charity Shield. So imagine you get to the point where you win the Premier League or you win the FA Cup. The following season rolls around. You've only got one trophy to tick off, and it's the Charity Shield. You lose that. You've got another season to play to get to have another go at that trophy. So it's quite frustrating, and you got to kind of learn when to jump and move teams as well. And that is the bit that I struggled with the most, was learning when to jump from a team, because we joked about FM22 as the Tony Jameson sackathon, right? FM23, I didn't get sacked at all in my main save, which was a shock to me, to my chat, to everybody in the community, right? The beat, obviously 3 streams in, sacked, right? But the beat is for seconds. But yeah, no sacking at all during this FM23 cycle, which was really, really bizarre. And that was the moment when the journey was sort of like weaving through we were creating these stories, and like there was moments when it's just like, right, I've got to leave to try and win a cup, but I'd kind of got attached to the team, and that was the problem.
Yeah,
that's the hardest thing, isn't it? That attachment to those teams. You know, I had the same thing managing Scandinavia. Every time I had to leave a club, I didn't want to. I was desperate to stay. You know, you sat there the whole time. The tensions there, like, right, got to win the league, got to win the league, got to win the league, and you finally win the league. You're like, oh, but what if I just stay for one more season and try and win a Europa Conference League with AIK in Sweden?
Well, here's the added bonus as well. Like we won 17 out of the 35 trophies, which, to be honest, I would have ripped everybody's hands off on day one if they'd said you're going to win 17 titles. Like I'm like, yeah, I'll have that. Thank you very much. We don't even have to play the save. Let's do it. 17 out of 35. I also won 3 European Cups that I didn't need to win and therefore didn't count towards the trophy haul. So I was like, why am I dominant in Europe yet can't win domestically?
Yeah, it's really, really hard, isn't it? It's a really hard thing to balance. I mean, Jeb, have you got, like 17, 20, was it 25 seasons you managed in the end,
25,
Tony?
yeah.
25 years.
Yeah, we don't talk about how the save ended, but yeah, 25 seasons.
Okay.
Well, we will talk about it, but it's 25 seasons.
Have you gone that deep for that long? Have you developed those attachments to clubs in the past, Jeb? Is that something you've dabbled in?
No. It's quite simple. I've done 11 seasons with Pescara and kind of fallen out. I love them a little bit now. I think did you do in classic Tony Jameson's jump before you were pushed though?
Oh, loads, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, and we were quite fortunate in that there was some moments when we did the newly branded Tony Jameson failing upwards, which is a newly trademarked move. So, for example, we had. So in Northern Ireland, we were at Portadown, who'd been relegated from the Premiership into the Championship. We'd been battered 5-0 by Dungannon in the semi-finals of a cup. Dungannon were bottom of the Premier Division. They hadn't won a game all season, and we weren't going to get promoted with Portadown, and that was the last cup we could have won that season. Dungannon sacked their manager, and we were like, should we put our name in the hat and see if we can just turn up at the final and win the final? And the Dungannon board must have seen something in that 5-0 defeat that went, that's the guy for us, right? We got the job. We won a couple of league games, but more importantly, we won the cup. And then we looked and went, well, we're going to get relegated, so let's just resign. So we had 12 games at Dungannon, won a cup, and then went, right, that's enough. And then a couple of weeks later, we get a phone call from Linfield, who had finished second, and went, do you want to come and manage the team that should be winning the title all the time? We're like, yeah, why not? Let's do that. So that was quite handy. So there was a few moments where we were playing the system, which was quite good. And then there was some moments, Sunderland, again, for example, 13 games we managed at Sunderland, no wins in 13 games. That was very much a let's leave, somehow then upgraded to Tottenham, which made no sense. And then the save sort of fizzled out. It fizzled out. We left Spurs, went to Banbridge, then went to Berwick. We tried to win something in Berwick, and we just weren't getting anywhere. So we then saw the Portsmouth job had come up, and they were still in the Papa John's Trophy, and we had to win the Papa John's Trophy. It was the only thing that was left up in that region of trophies. Like, let's jump in there, let's go there. And went to the Papa John's Trophy 3 games into our Portsmouth career. We won all 3 games, and then we lost in the quarterfinals of the Papa John's. So we just thought, right, time to retire. And that was the end of the save, literally losing to Notts County, end of season 25, and went, we're done, lads. We tried.
Heroic effort, though. Absolutely heroic effort. I mean, if there's one person that I can think can agree with the falling upward aspect of acquiring jobs in a longer term FM save.
I don't know what you mean. I don't know where this is going, but I can't tell at all. I don't know what you mean.
Callum's not here, so we can't talk about it.
It's a skill,
Kev,
right, isn't it? It's a skill.
It must be. I mean, Kev, you've had some incredible kind of bounce with some of the jobs, especially with that homeward bound save.
Mm-hmm.
Does it increase the pressure once you get one of those bigger jobs. Because if you look at the times it happened when you were in the Ukraine, I think in Italy as well.
Mhm.
You know, you're managing clubs that are there or thereabouts and might be in with a chance given the right runs of results or the right signings. And suddenly, you know, like if you Italy, the prime example, like you just jump forwards into a much higher profile job. Does that increase the pressure on you, or does it kind of not really matter as much because the end goal is the same?
I think that's the case. To be honest, it doesn't really matter. You have to work within the league you're given and the circumstance you're in. I think the pressure I felt was just that I wasn't very good at FM23. Basically, you know, there's this, we talked about this a couple of streams ago on my stream this week, that I've really struggled with it. I know people have loved it. I have in a lot of ways. I've absolutely had a great time on the streams, but actually the game itself, I haven't connected with in the same way that I do. I want to ask Tony so many things about his stream. I love dropping in on Tony's stream on a weekday evening whenever I can. How, having looked back on 23 now, how insane were you to take on the challenge in the first place? Do you actually think it was going to be ever possible for you to revisit it and actually complete that challenge in a year?
Okay, so 2 questions. First of all, ridiculous is the answer to that one. Yes, of course. Like, you know, oh, Tony, do you want to do something simple? No, not at all. I think it's doable.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's doable. I don't know if it's doable on stream, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
Okay, so I was putting a few roadblocks in this as well for myself because, of course, you know, let's make a difficult challenge harder, obviously. I'm very open about my ethics within football. So there's certain teams that I won't manage, which of course makes it really difficult because they're the ones that tend to win lots, right? So if you're getting into the Premier League and you are refusing to manage certain teams, then winning the Premier League is going to be really tough, if at all. Okay, so that's in there. There's also because you're doing it on stream, you sort of spend more time. This is going to sound really silly, but you spend more time analyzing stuff that you probably wouldn't if you're just playing it offline, right? Because you just spend time doing bits and pieces offline and you'd be able to sort of play the games and play the saves and stuff. Whereas I'm still trying to be entertaining and sort of like still trying to keep people engaged. So there was times, particularly in the season, for example, when we're at Celtic, which was just domination. Okay, absolute domination. We won a quadruple in one season at Celtic, right? We were barely even looking at the game. Like we were just going through. Like we beat Barcelona 5-1 in the Champions League, and we didn't even touch a button. We just left it. We left it running. I'm busy chatting away, and I looked up and I'm like, we're 4-0 up. Like this is like we were that just engrossed in what's the next plan. Like where do we go after this? So I think to do it offline, like shout out by the way to some of my community who saw that this was a ridiculous challenge and then thought, you know what, I've not done that before. And they started playing the British Steel Challenge alongside me offline. We got someone in our community called the Closian, clocked it, did it, got done. Cass got done, clocked it, then went on and did a pentagon to show off, right? Rugio tried it, got to where I got stuck. So many people were sort of getting involved, and like some people started and just gave up early doors. And that was what was really inspiring, was seeing other people take this challenge on and looking at how they played it. Because we always say that FM is the ultimate choose your own adventure. And this is absolutely that. Like you start unemployed, and that sort of can dictate where you go from the start. Because we got offered the Swansea Met Uni job, which would have been the Cymru, I'm going to get this wrong, Cymru North, I think it was, right? Second division of Welsh football. Absolute amateur side. I wasn't even going to get paid as the manager. Like that was the first option of the job. Do you want to take the job and teach BTEC in the evening? I'm like, no, I'm fine, thanks. I'm all right. Mrs. J would not want me to go to Swansea Met Uni for no money, right? Okay. So Banbridge were the other option, who were in the 3rd division of Northern Irish football. Now, I'd never managed there before. So for me, I was like, that's really exciting. Let's go. Kev, I know you said you had a bit of frustration with how FM23 plays, but I think given the nature of the save that I was doing and the level of football I was playing at, Callum might say the same thing. I embraced Chaos Ball. I loved it. I thought that the early part of that of FM23, before they patched it, that was playing really well for me because I was just set for disappointment and failure. And anything I got, I literally felt like I was working for a win, and that allowed me to sort of, in a weird way, have more enjoyment. And then when we started to work out ways that we could win relatively easy, it was like, oh, this is just we're just pushing the button now. Like, okay, fine. Like, how can I change this up again?
Just jumping in very quickly, just to clarify. Swansea's on the south coast of Wales.
I knew as I was saying it, I was like, I'm going to get this wrong, right? And I thought I'm not even going to try and Google it as we're doing it. I'm like, it's in Wales, right? And shout out, of course, to everyone who's from Swansea who's sitting there screaming at the internet now, going.
GYR is furious with you at this exact moment. Yeah. Although, if you look at the map from that recent Wrexham documentary that's popped up, Swansea is actually on the south coast of England. So that's which
I mean, there was a lot of ambiguity about some of the teams, to be honest. In people going, oh well, you know, if you win the league with Wrexham, does that count as winning it with an English side or a Welsh side? I'm like, I'm not getting into this. You know, we ended up at Berwick, and I was very much keeping myself to myself at that point. I was like, just heads down, everyone. We know where we are. Okay.
So we know we are all here for the hard hitting journalism that we provide here on the FMT podcast. So my follow up question is, which was your favourite dessert of FM23, Tony? If you don't know Tony's streams, it won't make any sense to you at all.
And my follow-up question: how many trifles have you consumed this year?
How did we even get into this? So this turned up, right? So this became a thing on stream, and I think it must have been prior to Christmas. So we're probably talking almost a year, right? And I was saying that Mrs. J and her family back in the day used to have trifle for Christmas dinner as dessert, obviously, not just
okay, yeah, sure, okay, yeah, it's not there next to like the peas or anything on the plate, you know.
It's like, oh, they don't bother with turkey; they just have a trifle.
I mean, that doesn't sound too bad to me, to be honest. But okay,
it's the gravy though. It's the gravy. That's the issue.
Yeah, but they had a trifle instead of a Christmas pudding, and I was like, you can't, absolute monsters! You can't not have a Christmas pudding on Christmas Day. It's in the title, like, you know.
I'm with them, I must say.
but then I went there, and then they refused to have a trifle ever again at Christmas Day because I made too much of a fuss, right? Which, to be fair,
imagine that.
I did, and I'm glad they've seen the light. Okay,
it's on brand. Let's be honest.
Exactly. I mean, they still haven't got a Christmas pudding. It's now some sort of chocolate-based dessert, which again, I'll take umbrage with because I prefer something more refreshing at the end than chocolate. But you could then argue a Christmas pudding will probably be more dense. I'm going off track, right?
If there's one word I'd use to describe a Christmas pudding, it's refreshing. It's practically a sorbet. You know, to describe it.
Can I have one of those Christmas pudding cocktails, please? That should just freshen me up a smidge. Yeah, but. So I thought, right. So, and we talked about this, and of course, you know, our chat was split as to whether this was a good thing or a bad thing. And I was like, well, look, I'm not contesting that trifle's not a reasonable dessert. I'm just saying it's not a Christmas Day dessert. Okay? And Mrs. J then bought me a trifle. Go, right, you're gonna have to eat this and prove that it's fine. I'm like, I didn't understand what was happening. Like, eat it and prove that trifle's okay. Like. I hadn't done a hate crime or anything. Like I'm just eating a trifle at this point, and I'm like, all right, I had a trifle. I think we were doing like a transfer stream as well, so I've got my notepads out, and like we're sitting and just it was basically a just chatting stream, really, with Football Manager in the background, and we're eating trifles and that, and then end up with a trifle the next day, and I don't understand how many, Jeb. I can't even begin to try and quantify how many trifles I've eaten this year. There's a trifle emote now on stream, and MyFitnessPal does not recognize trifles. I've not logged trifles in there. But we went through all sorts. We had like an apple pie one night. We had a proper apple pie as well. This is a family-sized cheesecake. Trifle as well, by the way.
They're not individual ones.
No, get in proper, get the whole thing done. So yeah, red apple pie, rhubarb pie, Jamaican ginger sponge has been recommended, but very claggy, so not great for an audio format, I don't think. But yeah, a large quantity of trifles has been consumed.
It's amazing.
Everybody needs a hook. Everybody needs
a thing.
Something. Exactly.
Oh my God, it's the trifle guy. Like, come on.
It's the pudding guy, and he does a bit of FM on the side. Yeah, this FN24's content is brought to you by early onset diabetes, as it turns out, because it got a little bit out of hand. The one thing I've picked up from that is that, you know, any size trifle is a personal trifle if you just try hard enough.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. Like, I'm a big fan of what is advertised as a family-sized cheesecake. What size family are eating those cheesecakes? I've got no idea. Right?
Exactly. This dessert serves 6. It's like, no, it doesn't. It absolutely does not. It's like what I've taken.
Why
is
does
like
it only
6.
come with one spoon?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
I reckon I could do it in 6 mouthfuls. Actually, Sarah Lee. So that'll show you. There we go. We were talking
Other
before
brands
the
are
pod.
available.
Yeah, others are available. We were talking before we started recording the pod that we're just going to alienate a certain age demographic, and there I am just doubling down on it. Sarah Lee chocolate gatto.
Goes
Terrible.
really well with Gino Ginelli ice cream as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tutti fruity, what a cutie.
Once you've rented a video from Blockbuster Video,
Wow.
Mm,
Too soon.
too soon. Are they all closed? Are they all gone now, Blockbuster videos?
gone.
Or are they all gone?
Yeah.
Oh wow! A moment of silence for not a great concept for a predominantly audio podcast. A moment of silence, but let's just do one internally while there's still noise here.
Let's face it, we do lots of things that aren't appropriate for an audio podcast.
100% we do. 100% we do. Look, it's your, as I say, Tony, your FN23 journey has been wonderful. It's been great fun to keep. It's been great fun to watch. Here's an exciting look behind the curtain. I think the idea of the British Steel Challenge, I think originally you kind of pitched it kind of midway through 22 when other bits and pieces started to go a bit quiet. And it was during Tony and I's tenure on pod together. And he messaged me one night. I'm thinking about doing British Steel. And he outlined it to me. And I was like, in order to complete it, you would have to win a trophy every 2.5 streams from now until the end of the year. Then I was like, okay, 23 content maybe. Got parked until then. But as you say, we've all had a bit of a different experience with FN23. Some very positive, some slightly more difficult. Soz Kev, love you. If there's one thing that's like, from an outsider's point of view, in terms of how you play the game and why you might be slightly improving at the game, FM22, you spent the vast majority of your time hanging out with me and also Matt. FM23, Tony, you've spent quite a lot of time in the company of RDF Tactics. And then suddenly you seem to have gotten a lot better at Football Manager. Do you reckon there's some kind of correlation between those two things, or is it just a weird coincidence?
I mean, it's probably a weird coincidence because if I've done it, I'm learning through osmosis. Right? We don't have as many tactical conversations as you could imagine. Because let's face it, RDF doesn't want to listen to me go, what's the difference between a complete wing back and a wing back, and why do you even have them? Like, he doesn't need that. He doesn't need me to be going, yeah, but what's the half space? Like, I keep hearing about this. Like, and Matt was the same. Matt just used to just shut down whenever I was doing tactics. He's like, oh, he's such a dinosaur. Tony's such a dinosaur. Like, he doesn't know about like man-orientated press. And I'm like, no, I know about kicking the ball dead long to the big tall fella, right?
Now you're
RDF
talking.
is very much the same. Just, but somehow I've sort of understood it a bit more. I think things like playing PvP a bit during like the FM22 cycle and stuff, I looked at not necessarily like I was looking at people sort of working out how to play Football Manager as a game, and then because they were playing Football Manager as a game, I was then trying to look at Football Manager as football, and it's two very, very different things. And I think we often fall into those traps sometimes. Those people that win a lot understand how to play it as a game. Those people who lose a lot maybe are trying to go, well, this is what would happen in the real world, and I probably fall a little bit more into that side of things. So by doing that, I started looking, well, actually, in a real match, a player will possibly sit there, or a player will possibly sit there. And maybe they do this. So I started to understand a little bit more going around what was going into the game in terms of a physical game. And then little bits like we sort of having chats with people like Nick Madden on the Match Engine team and stuff at SI. And he's like, look, you need to engage with it more. FM23 was all about engagement. It was about risk and reward. And I kind of like, that makes sense. That makes sense. Like literally being aware of when the transitions happened, when the sort of the change of momentum was happening, and people who were complaining about the game being like, "Oh my god, I can't win," weren't looking back at those metrics. They weren't looking at when the swing happened in match momentum. They were just focusing on, "Oh, my player's done something stupid," and let's say, "Yeah, it has," but for the last 10 minutes, you've been under pressure, so of course your player's going to do something stupid. Like your players aren't very good. Like, especially at my level, my players had second jobs, so they weren't footballers. Like, they'd been up all night delivering milk, and I'm expecting them to play in a cup match, and they're like, "I've made a mistake, Gaffer." Of course you have. Like, of course you have. You're tired, right? And that's what I started to look at, and then I started like sort of tweaking ideas and coming to each club with an idea of how I wanted to play. And I guess maybe in FM22, I wasn't really come with how an idea I wanted that club to play. I just went, oh, I'll make a tactic. That'll be fine. Whereas I sort of go, right, I want my club to play this style of football. Okay, how do I make that happen? And I've maybe engaged a little bit more in that sense. So I might play the fool, but somehow I've managed to have a little bit of an idea of going, I think I almost understand bits of this now, and I'm waiting for FM24 to prove me wrong. But I don't know.
Exactly. You got to play the hand that you've been dealt. Managing the third tier of Welsh football. Right? How do I get the most out of a defensive fullback who, under player traits, they've got part-time carpenter? So right, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. I need somebody who's doing a BTEC in plumbing, and then the system's really, really going to start working. I guess the main reason we've just mentioned RDF there. The main reason you spent a lot of time with RDF over the last year is because RDF is now your new podcast friend on the Football Manager, the FM show these days. I mean, it's been a year. I mean, looking at what you've done, we've talked about what you've done in terms of your Football Manager content. Obviously, that kind of that goes beyond Football Manager for you, because you are hosting an incredibly good podcast about it as well. Others are available. You're listening to one right now. This one right now. What we are all on. That is one of them. The FM show, mate. I mean, first of all, congratulations. What a show it is. I mean, how's the last year of podcasting been for you?
So yeah, it's been a bit of a whirlwind, and I can't remember if we actually mentioned it on the final FMT episode or not. So the plan was again, for maybe new listeners, we'll go back in time. The plan was we were trying to get a big guest on for FMT 100, and I was like, oh, I might ring Ian McIntosh and see if he fancies it. That'll be great. We'll get McIntosh on. That'll be brilliant. Rang him up and started having a chat, and he's like, oh, I meant to call you actually. I've got an idea. And I was like, oh, okay, what's this? And Ian was stepping down from the Football Manager show at The Athletic, and he said, look, I want to offer you the position. And I was like, oh, okay, so we're not doing FMT 100 then. And spoke to Rich and said, look, here's the situation. You get control of FMT. I go over there and do this, and Ian was like, look, I want you, and I want RDF Tactics, and obviously producer Steve as well to run the Football Manager show at The Athletic. And we're like, okay, cool, that sounds amazing, great opportunity, let's go and do that. And then we were there for a little while, and the Athletic started to rejig how they were looking at podcasts and stuff. So we sort of went, right, okay, fair enough. We know where we are. And they went, look, the contract's going to sort of come to an end. And we're like, okay, that's cool. It's like, we appreciate the opportunity. And we had some conversations about what we did next. And Jebaru helped organize to get us into Insomnia. So we went and did like a sort of a show down there, which was fantastic at the gaming festival. First time, ironically, that myself and producer Steve had met, very much in the same way that when we did FMT Live, it was the first time yourself and myself met, Rich. So we did that, which was brilliant. And then we said, look, we can either end it now or we can go independent. And we can just keep it going because it's a good product, and and it fits within a space. I think out of all the podcasts that there are in the FM space, I think we all serve a different purpose. And I was like, we can keep that space plugged essentially, and we can go independent. And we're like, okay, cool, let's do that. So rebranded, so it was no longer the Football Manager show; it's now the FM show, and we've started to evolve much as FMT has in a different way. And it's not the same show as the Football Manager show was, and it's now a bit looser. And yeah, I think it's becoming more of itself now, I think. And obviously looking forward to FM24. I think we're starting to get in a good spot with it. And it's great. Like working with Aaron and with Steve is fantastic. And yeah, I think we enjoy the records, and it's offering something different. It's offering something different. And I think that's the key thing. We're not there to be battling with FMT for the same orders. We're not there to battle with the 5-star potential for the same orders. We are going for a different audience. There's enough of it for all of us to share. There will be crossover, of course, but I think it's nice, and I think that so far, touch wood, it seems to be going all right.
So when you were at the Athletic, was there one or two things that you picked up from your time there that has really shaped how you do actually put your show together, or how it runs or works behind the scenes, etc.?
Oh, right. We've got a thing called a script now, Kev. Now, I'd never heard of these things. When you get a producer, they want stuff planned and organized, and I'm like, I'm a comedian. Like, I just turn up and just ask people what they do for a living and get an act on. Like, come on.
Can you stop scaring Rich with these scary words?
Oh, I know.
I'm not.
Another thing that they've taught me, enunciation. So yeah. And then
you can say that word. Well done.
I know.
You mean like Sister Act?
Yeah, that's the one. And so this is different. We used to record everything very structured under when it was the Athletic, where we'd have very structured parts, and it was audio only as well. So we could just get it done how we do. But then when we had the conversation about going independent, I was like, look, we need to be visual as well. We need to be visible, so it needs to go on YouTube as well. And at that point, Steve's obviously gone, oh God, this is like letting Tony loose going live. Like, and I get it. I totally get it. It's really terrifying to sort of go, oh God, what's he going to do? But I can hold it together just about, right? And we've not had to cut anything out. So that's a start. But you're right. Yeah, it has made me think about the projects in a very, very different way. And we have like sort of shared documents and stuff, and like plans for the future and all that sort of stuff. And it's good, because I think I probably needed a bit more of that, a bit more polish. I love the idea of just turning up and just doing it. But to get the best out of me, I think that I need something to work off. It doesn't have to be word for word, but I need some plot points to be like, right, Tony, as long as you cover that. And Steve's in the document working behind, like highlighting bits and pieces, like sort of you need to mention this bit, or if we're already doing stuff, it's like, right, with a producer there, it just keeps me on track while I'm going. So yeah, I think it's worked out really handily, to be honest.
Steve is the real hero of the whole thing.
Oh, absolutely. He is. Like, he must have sleepless nights dealing with me. I understand. I mean, Jebru does it for the playoffs. Like, Jebru knows how much work goes into keeping me on track. Like, it's just
yeah. I mean, there's definitely none of that here these days. Absolutely nothing even vaguely similar to that here with me in the exact same capacity. Not in the slightest bit. There is. Oh my gosh, there's so much of it. So much. But you need that. People need that. People need a structure. I've said for at least the last year, everyone needs a Jeb. Everyone needs a Kev, because they're vitally important to people, especially like me, who are just happy to just turn up and talk sometimes. Like, oh, it'd be fine, just have a chat, it'd be great. And then you just need those people that's like, no, we need a plan, we need some structure, we need to know what's going on. And I'm incredibly grateful for both of them. Callum's also here in some capacity. I don't know what he does. He's just happy, isn't he? He's just happy in the corner, living his best life.
Boy.
The sunshine, but exactly the sunshine kid. It is super helpful. I mean, looking at some of the conversations you've been having recently on the FM show, like obviously you've had some chats with second year Card's been back, who was an excellent guest on this podcast back in the day. If you've not seen that, look that one back up, because I mean, if you want the one extreme of what we've talked about in terms of structure and having a producer, Steve, having a script, the complete opposite end of the spectrum was the episode we recorded with Second Yellow Card on here.
It was very special.
Everybody had forgotten it was happening. We had forgotten. Matt had forgotten. We think we're recording a podcast in half an hour. It's like, okay, great. Let's do this.
It was more along the lines of during the record going, we don't appear to have mentioned Football Manager much. And it's an hour and a half in, and we're talking about God knows what, and bears, I think, at one point.
Build a bear. That was prominent.
That was the moment when I was like, I need a script.
This is too much. But no, like you've had Matt's been on. You've been branching out obviously into your guests. is there, I mean, is there anybody that you've got, like, you don't necessarily have to name names, but are there people that you've got lined up that you kind of rubbing your hands together, go, oh, this is going to be fantastic, getting to get these lads on, getting to have these people on to have a conversation with us about new games, whatever it may be?
Yeah. So we do have some plans for other guests, and it's not just content creators, because again, we mentioned about sort of the different place within the FM space that we all sit.
Mhm.
Like we obviously we have so many conversations like about FMT and like sort of where you guys are like in the world, and like I think you've got that community, the FM community kind of area is boxed off for you guys. I think like you look after the content creators, the streamers, the sort of that's the vibe, the playoffs, PvP lot. 5 stars kind of like your hardcore who've been there for a long time. Like they've been going for 5 years I think now. And I think the FM show, we appeal to what we refer to as the wider FM audience. So like your people who play 3 seasons as like Manchester United or Liverpool or Real Madrid, and they win the Champions League, and that's kind of it. Or people who have just come back to the game. So we kind of like have this sort of digital instruction manual almost. So our guests are kind of like having to weave in between not just people from streaming, because they might not necessarily be known to these new people, but we're also looking at people from within the football world, or like sort of journalism or music or whatever. So we're kind of like a bit more open to guests. Like I think last year we had Connor Washington on last year, who's like a footballer who plays for Rotherham. He followed RDF on Twitter for a while, and then like sort of they had a bit of back and forth. And then we had like Lee Scott, who was a scout who went off to Spain, who's originally from Scotland. He wrote a book about Bielsa back in the day. So again, we had him in. Then we had Tom Underhill, who wrote the book about Atalanta. So we kind of have a bit of a different outlook in terms of guests coming on. But yeah, we have got some plans. We've got some very, very interesting plans. And I say we're not just about the FM creator space. There are 1 or 2 plans, which if they come off, should be very, very good. Building international relations, let's just put it that way.
Oh, Mourinho.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. He's translating everything I'm saying into English.
Yep. Say no more about it, just leave it there. Yep. Mourinho confirmed for the FM show. Sure.
Yep.
Why not? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely is. No, it's been great. I love listening. I love watching. I'm a big fan of what you've done. It's been really, really, really nice. You know, it's from a personal standpoint. Obviously, you know, we touched briefly upon, you know, it's quite sudden. Obviously, your departure from FMT, and while I was, you know, on the one hand, I was like, look, I'm just not going to spend as much time with my friend every week, and that's not going to be great. But also, like going off and doing the Footman show for the Athletic, wonderful, and now doing the FM show, it's just really nice to be able to sit back and go, I used to do a podcast for that guy. Look at him. Any good? You know, I'd never say it to your face though, which is the important thing. Never
do that.
No.
Again, it's the same as well. Like, you know, when we said like we're going to leave the show, it was never, all right, we're never going to sit and watch again or listen again. It was. I've always been sort of like, it's a vested interest, of course, you know, FMT, and watching it change direction and watching it evolve was what we were saying at the time as well. But look, it's not going to be the same. Like, take it and make it your own and shape it into what you want it to be. And again, it's nice to sort of sit, watch back, and be like, oh yeah, look at that, that's cool. I'm glad what they've done there. That works really nicely, you know.
Yeah.
So well done all you as well.
Yeah.
Well done, us. Yay.
Well done. Yay. Only obviously relevant to the people who are here on the podcast today.
Callum needs to pull his weight a bit, doesn't he? I mean, he hasn't even shown up today.
Honestly,
baby, for goodness sake.
Terrible behaviour. How very dare
I took him to one side at the FMT live show. Have I told this story before? I can't remember if I have.
No.
I took him to one side on the FMT live show, and we had a bit of a conversation afterwards in the bar, and he was like, "Look, Tony, I really want to get involved in the playoffs. Like, you know, what's the route?" And I said, "Funny you should mention that." I said, "You're on the radar, right? You're on the radar for people to come on and be on the panel." And I said, just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Because I said, because I'm like, look, you've got something, okay? You've genuinely got this warmth on screen. You are a born entertainer. And I said to him at the time, okay, and he will back this up. I said, look, if you keep going in however many years it's going to be, I don't know how long. I was like, you've got the potential to be as big as a Dr. Benji or as a work the space or an illusion. I says, you have got the personality to do it. And the fact that he hasn't even turned up today disgusts me. It's gone to his head. It's gone to his head.
It's playoff, we can't get rid of him. He just keeps appearing on these panels. I'm just like, why is he here again?
I know, it's terrible, absolutely terrible. You created a monster, is what you did, Tony. You've absolutely created a monster. I mean, look, that is as good a segue as we could possibly hope for to start talking about the FM playoffs, because as you know, up it comes in conversation. We're lucky enough we're sat with two of the owners.
Oh yeah,
yeah. They're here. Kev, you own the playoffs
comedy
now.
for an audio podcast.
Physical comedy. Yeah, Kev, you apparently now own the playoffs.
Apparently, who knew? I didn't know.
A non-Scottish football team as well. Congratulations,
It's not Mozart. Oh God.
This isn't a planning meeting. Oh God, this is super awkward now. I mean, you are both owners of, again, for my money, one of the greatest bits of PvP Football Manager content out there. I mean, you've gone, let's be honest, there was the slight Tony Jameson reputation of Tony's not very good at PvP. He's a bit rubbish at drafts. And now you own one of my favorites, one of my favorite draft competitions. I mean, talk us through it. I mean, where did it start? Going from, the Tony Jameson donut to now host of the playoffs, one of the owners.
It's very much, and I'm going to say this tongue in cheek, right? It's very much those who can do and those who can't teach, right? That's essentially what's happened. Is I'm not very good at PvP, but you know what? I'm quite good at talking and telling other people that they're not good at PvP or people that are good at PvP. So I basically went, right, this isn't working for me at all, to be honest. And I had a dreadful FM21, I think it was. And I was like, yeah, I got the TJ donut, which is now official. I think I was the first, because basically I was the first person to ever go into the FM playoffs and not get a single point out of 2 attempts. It wasn't even one attempt. It was 2 attempts. I didn't get a single point. In fact, I may have got a point in the second season, possibly. But yeah, so I went an entire season without picking up any of this. I was like, right, he gets the donut. And I couldn't quite work out what it was, because for those people who've not done PvP or draft mode, it's also known. It's very, very different. You take your thinking into real world players, which again, which to be fair, I'm quite limited in, given the fact I don't watch football. Me trying to work out who's a player on that, so I'm like, well, he plays for a team. I'm guessing he'll probably do. Yeah, but he's 36, Tony. He's Zlatan. He's going to be brilliant. He's not brilliant. Sticking him in there. Tactics are very, very different because, of course, you're playing against other people. And, of course, you're streaming as well. So you're trying to keep the chat entertained whilst focusing on the game, whilst panicking while you're doing it. And the people who do it really, really well are like swans. They look so effortless, gliding along, but their legs are giving it God knows what under the water. And whereas I was an upside down swan, the legs were kicking up in the air, and the swan is drowning, and it's gonna be messy. There's several children going, "Should we save the swan?" It gets taken out and it gets shot. Right, that's where I was. Okay, and I've sort of pride myself in the fact that if I lose, I can lose in an entertaining way, and that's essentially how I then went. Do you want me to just host? I bought a new computer. I can just do that instead of losing all the time.
I was going to say it's almost a segue of how I got involved as well, was because you were a panelist originally, and you had your old PC, which was it from your driving your wife's driving instructor.
Yeah, Mrs. J's driving instructor had a second PC.
So that's what I used to stream on, and I remember sitting there watching the playoffs one Sunday afternoon, just going, "Oh, playoffs is on. I'll tell you, he's on the panel. That's good." And then I looked in and went, "Oh God, Tony's hosting. I know Tony's PC won't be able to handle this." Just watching a stuttering mess, an entertaining stuttering mess happen, but it kind of happened that way. And I just messaged Tony, like, right, how can we fix this and make this like look good? And it kind of went that way.
It was, and then the conversation started to happen. Obviously, going like, "Look, I've got this computer." I was like, "Jebra, I need what do I need essentially to do this?" And he's like, "Right." So we spec'd up the computer, and then I said to Moz, I said, look, I'll just host it, right? I'll host the show. I've now got the computer running, but we need someone else in to help make it something different, right? So I can't do this on my own, right? Because I don't know enough about how to host a PvP competition. Like, I didn't know about how I was meant to get multiple streams going on, like get things like sort of cutting between streams and making it look like telly. And I was like, but Jebaru knows about how to make stuff look like telly, right? And he's really, really good at all this sort of stuff. So I'm like, right, Mozza, let's have a conversation, right? Jebaru needs to come in on this. He's going to basically he's already made notes on everything he's seen, right? This is what needs to be done to take the playoffs to the next level. And we kind of had a bit of a free hit, I think, with FM22, didn't we? While we were sort of balancing it out and working out, going right, what we can do, what we can't do. And then FM23, Jeb, I don't know what you drank, some sort of magic potion or something, but we went from making TV that was on ITV4 to making actual television, just about. And it was the jump was so much better. The quality was great. The broadcast was like night and day from 18 months, really. And that was down to you. Like, I can just get on there and be a host, because I've had 15 years worth of stand-up comedy experience. Like, I'm used to talking in front of people. It's not a problem for me. Doing all the technical bits, that's difficult. That's the bit I can't do. Right? But you made all that bit happen while I just went and chatted away and got some fantastic panels in. I got Kev, of course, to be the right-hand man in there. And I just balanced everything out to make it look like I was booking like a comedy show, essentially. I need someone who can cover that sort of style of discussion, someone who can do that, someone who can do that. Bringing people like Llama in, but of course Callum as well, one of the main players, and that's just, yeah, for everything. Again, go back to the swan analogy. For everything that looks really calm on top, Jebaru's feet are kicking underneath to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think that we'll be open and honest about it. There have been difficult moments in it, but then as soon as we get into a show, we go, this is really good. We really enjoy it.
Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter what's happened or not happened leading up to the show. The second we hit go live, as a collective, something comes over us and we just get the work done. I mean, the show works.
I think the perfect example is the Adam Cleary one, where we're trying to get him in, and he confirms the night before he's supposed to draft, and he says, I'm not at home. I was like, oh, okay. So we called in Alice, and then he goes, right, yep, I'm home now, I can stream. Oh, my company haven't given me access on my laptop. I've got this 10-year-old laptop, can I stream off that? It's like, let's try. No, you can't. Alice, are you busy tonight? And then that turned out to be actually golden, like how good that looked.
but it's things like that as well, like being able to take those risks.
Yeah.
Like, we got Ian McIntosh in the first year that we did it, and I think it was Holly Players set him up as a computer and went, this is how you set a stream up, because he didn't have an idea. And he popped in and he did it because it was the Mad Scientist's 93, 94 database. So we've got to get Ian involved in that. And being able to drop people in who aren't streamers or creators. Clearly, again, we were struggling for sort of like, we wanted something big. We're like, what can we get that's big, that's different, that's not been done before? Like, I was just like racking our brains, and thankfully I've known Adam for years, and I was like, should we just try? Like, and sometimes shall we just try is absolutely the right answer. And it just timed out really handily. The things were going to work well, but then it also was working where he just got a new job at 442 and was back and forth between London and Newcastle. And as you say, Jeb was trying to stream from a travel lodge on his mobile.
Tony, you were saying a minute ago that kind of in these parentheses kind of things, that all you do is show up and talk, and Jebaru does the things and all that kind of stuff. That's not absolutely true at all. There is a lot that goes in. So my question about the PvP stuff and the playoffs specifically is, if you get a certain level of kudos because you are on the screen, you are the host of the show, people know who you are, why do it? Why do the playoffs? And when you've got, work that you're doing outside of FM, you've got your streams going on, you've got a family that you're taking care of, all those kinds of, what's the draw of doing anything within the playoffs kind of setup for you?
It's a good question. It's a good question, actually, because the thing, so what I always say to anyone who comes into it, right, and I've said this to people who ask me questions about, can I be on the panel? Can I host? How do I get into this sort of stuff? And I have to say, look, what are you wanting into it? Essentially what you've just said there, Kev, why you want to do it. And some people have said, oh, I want to get more viewers. And I'm like, well, that's the wrong answer for a start. It's not about getting more viewers, right? You will not get more viewers by just being on the playoffs, okay? What you want to do is the right answer, and now people, of course, will respond with the right answer, obviously, is you want to make the best product you can. Same with podcasting. It's the same with streaming. You put yourself in there to make the best product you can. And I think that I know my skill set is good enough to carry a show, right? But my skill set is only good enough to carry the show. I can't run an entire show. I need panelists, and therefore I need panelists who can work to a level whereby if something goes down, Jebru will know 100% there's always technical issues. Kev, you'll know as well yourself. There's been issues where my camera goes off. You instantly pick up that rein and you go as the second in command. So it's looking at that, and I think it's just this desire to come into the space, as I kind of did when I came out of comedy and we came into the FM space, and it was like, how can we just add something decent? Like, there's got to be something good. Like, don't come in and just do something for the sake of doing it. Like, come in and make it good. Like, if we're making a big song and dance about making the playoffs better, let's make the playoffs better. Like, it could have just been left as it was, recording on Melon, stuttery cameras, stuttery stream, not being able to catch up with goals and stuff. But by us putting the work in and really pushing the bar, we were kind of had to, because there was no showdown last year. Like, there was a big gap of amazing TV that wasn't there. So we had to push and fill that gap. And that drove us to work harder than we probably ever considered. It made everyone else step up as well. Like, every other tournament looks so much better because we pushed the needle, because we were like, right, the showdown's not here. We need to be, to the untrained eye, the closest thing to the showdown. Like, we're aiming towards getting to that level. We're not competing to try and be something that it is or isn't. We're not looking to overtake the showdown. We're like saying we want to look the same, right? That's the first thing. Push. Jebba and I keep saying we're making television. We're not just putting a stream of Football Manager people on and we're having a tournament. We are making TV. And I think that was the driving factor of going, we can make this better. And you're right. I say, yeah, I just turn up and I just host. I will undersell. I will absolutely undersell whatever I do. But I'm only part of a team. Like, Jebba is doing so much work as the show director, as an executive producer, as technical wizard. Kev, yourself, you're involved in a lot of the work as well, and of course Mozza and Ali as well are doing so much work. We've got people like sitting in streams constantly. There's like messages going back and forwards. Have you seen this person? Have you seen this person? Like, the scouting is constant. Like, people, we get new people in through people getting in touch, but we also get new people in because we found people. Like, we've just gone looking around, going like, oh, they look like they've got quite a decent setup. Oh, they're really interesting, actually. And that's how people like H2 came to our attention. We were just sitting, just have a twitch up and have a bit of a nosy in, and sort of go, oh, I like this person. Quick little message around in the group, and everyone's going, yep, thumbs up. He's great. Like, and that's what it's about, spotting those people and bringing those people in and going, yeah, they've got the right talent, the right temperament, and they'll add something to the show, and again to improve that quality.
And also in Humza's case, just being really handsome helps as well.
That did help as well. To be
there
honest.
is that.
Sickening.
It's disgusting, isn't it? Honestly, it's hard not to look at Humza and take it personally. Like, it feels like it's an attack on me.
It was really difficult as well when it was Humza and Kev on there, because I had to turn up the nastiness like even further than normal. It's just like, they're both so nice. What am I going to do here?
But that is part of the trouble, Jeb, isn't it? Like, we have to try and balance, and there has to be different personalities.
I didn't find it difficult. I'll just
tone you down, if anything.
Oh no, I have to be horrible to people. Oh, what a colossal burden.
Jen, this is getting personal. You need to just bring it in a bit. Where's your list?
It's Wednesday. We stopped recording 3 days ago. Stop messaging me.
But what we also did as well, which I think is again testament to Jeb and to Kev as well in this instance, is we were able to make the playoffs and the path to the playoffs feel different as well. So once we'd worked out what the playoffs was meant to look like, we're like, right, how can we make the path to the playoffs different? And again, so there's so much work had gone into the end product, and then we reverse engineered back to make sure that each of the shows were different. And then, of course, Drafts and Crafts was just something that was a nice, silly throwaway idea, which sort of has its own life as well, which again is just great. And that's very much just turn up and see what happens sort of vibe, which yeah, I think it's just a nice little quirky addition to the weekend.
Oh, see, now turning up and seeing what happens. Now we're in Rich's wheelhouse. This is where I shine. Now, it's true though. I think picking up on some of the things that you guys have been talking about there, and this is interesting for me because it's a really nice conversation to be part of, almost as an outsider. Because even though, despite the fact that I know the three of you like incredibly well, and I've been, fortunate enough to be, I'm comparatively privy to what kind of goes on a little bit behind the scenes, just because we talk so much and just being, being involved in terms of like podcasting with the three of you in some capacity in the past or currently. Like the amount of effort that goes in behind the levels cannot be understated. Like in the slightest bit. I've said this frequently on pod. I've said it on stream before. Like the improvement in production value, just month to month to month to month, is nothing short of incredible. The biggest thing for me is when listening to that conversation, and Tony, you say like when people are getting in touch saying, I want to be part of the playoffs. Like, I want to be a competitor. I want to be on a panel. And the biggest reason that I want to be involved, I'm lucky to be involved, because I've got one of my favorite things to do is Path to the Playoffs with Jeb. I absolutely adore it. Drafts and Crafts is one of my favorite shows in the world. I love being involved with both. I've never done a full playoffs, and I'm very, very okay with that. I found my level. I'm Jordan Rhodes. Give me just below the top tier, and that I will shine.
I'm so good.
My God, I will bag you 25 goals a season on Path to the Players, but put me in the actual players themselves. Oh crikey, no.
Rich David Nugent.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'll turn up and I'll do really, really well, and then never be seen of again at the top level. But it's brilliant. But the reason that I want to be part of it is because I want to be part of something that's good, because it forces you to up your game. You have to be better. It's for me, it's very, very similar. It's like going from, in terms of like stand-up comedy, for example, it's like going from the open mics and the new material nights. It's like it's like getting paid work. All of a sudden you're like, right, I've been invited to do this because somebody has seen something in me. I want to be better. I have to be better. And it kind of forces that out of you. And if that's you,
sorry, and again, that's sort of what we were thinking about as well. We wanted people to want to work towards it as well, and for it to be seen as aspirational. And it's not necessarily why when we put the two pathways in, the path to the playoffs and the playoffs, that wasn't to make it a very distinct difference, but it was because we had so many people we wanted to see and work out where people would fit. We thought, like, we can't just turn people down and have no opportunity. Like, there's got to be a pathway for people to try stuff out. So people to get on the panel, I kept saying, look, I need to see you on a panel somewhere. So go and either get on a panel for another competition, or, hey, you know what? We've got the path to the playoffs, and it's not designed to be, all right, you're not ready for the playoffs yet, because Callum was the exception who sort of went straight through and just fit. But we had people like Dupe, who's like, he's been on a showdown panel before, and he was like, I'm happy to. I will want to come and sit on a playoffs panel, on a path to playoffs panel, because that makes everyone else better as well. And we didn't want to have any distinction between the two shows in terms of like it's the lesser show or the main show. It's the full month worth of shows. Like, you are going to be on something, and we wanted people to feel as though they were working towards something. And I think that's kind of how the intention has been received.
Absolutely it has. Again, for me, it's especially with the absence of the showdown for the last year or so, it's the pinnacle. I think it says it in the Twitter bio. It's the pinnacle of Football Manager PvP competition, which is I think is accurate. It tells so many wonderful stories, and it's so nice to have. I've done panels. I've competed in Path to the Playoffs a few times. Back in FM21, I stood in for Tony in the playoffs themselves, which meant that for 3 playoffs, I had Tony Jameson's best record, because I got 2 draws in a group stage, which for a long time. Tony's best achievement in the playoffs was me. You know, but it's brilliant fun. It's so much fun, but it's just nice to be part of something that's bigger. So if that's something that I get, if people are listening or listening to or watching this podcast and are thinking, you know, especially with FM24 just around the corner, and there are so many great graph competitions out there now, like regularly run. There's community ones, there's more competitive ones. You've got the rank competitions. Like if you're thinking, I want to get involved, like absolutely do. But I think it's you got to do it for the right reasons, because you can't turn around and say, right, I want to be in the playoffs because I'm looking to increase my follower count. Because like Tony says, it's not going to be the case. Like I want to be involved, you know, I want to be involved in it because it's the best. It's the absolute best. And I want to be involved in it for that reason. I want to be on a panel. Everybody's so lovely. If you message people and say, hey, I want to be on a panel on your draft, they're going to say yes. And it's given us, like, it's just the paneling has, like, you know, the prominent rise in some people in terms of what they bring to a panel. Like, just off the top of my head, people like Cozza Bob. Like, isn't Cozza Bob wonderful? Pokes is an absolute treat to experience on a panel. And these are opportunities that weren't necessarily there for people, you know, a year ago, 18 months ago. And it's giving an additional platform to people and letting them shine in a different way.
Yeah, the last draft competition I was in, though, Pokes called me Jed for the entire competition.
You've also got as well, though, they're two really, really interesting names, by the way, Cozza Bob and Pokes. Now, Cozza Bob, again, we'll pull a bit behind the curtain. Cozza Bob's been on our radar for 18 months-ish, about 14 months probably, I would say. But because we were raising the standards of the technical requirements to be on stream, we needed Cozza Bob's computer and camera and audio and lighting to fall in line with everyone else as well. So there's some times that we see people and we go, they're perfect. Someone find them a set of lights, because they need a set of lights. Like, that will really help. Whenever anyone says to us, you know, of any situation, we've had people in all of our streams, in all of our Discords, I want to start streaming, I want to start making a podcast. Like, what do I want? And the first thing any of us will say, get a microphone, get a really, really good microphone, then get a camera, but get some lights as well. And it's those little things that you can be amazing. You can be amazing with such dreadful kit. But you can have people who go the other way and they can be awful, but they've got all the kit in the world. Sometimes it's just the situation of, if you're making TV, you're making a program, you're making a podcast, you need to be seen, you need to be heard. And that's going to be what gets you on these shows. And it's not about how good you are at Football Manager either. That's not part of it. It's not about, oh, well, I've won 62 Champions Leagues. Doesn't matter. Like, it's, can you come in to a competition? Can you be pleasant in a call, a big group call with people that you don't know? Can you have a bit of fun? You know, can you, if you lose, take it on the chin and laugh it off a little bit? If you win, can you be a bit humble in victory? You know, and that's what it's all about. Like, are you going to be part of something bigger? Like, do you want to help push the show up? Because again, there's loads of people who we'd love to get in, but we only have a finite amount of slots to fill. And we will fill with people we know fill those criteria in our heads, going, oh, they're perfect. Like, get them in there, they embody what we're trying to do. And it's like piecing a puzzle, you know. And there's some people who are fantastic but just need a little bit of time. Or there's some people who, I mean, yeah, we knew for a fact that me hosting was possibly somewhere on the agenda, but my computer wasn't good enough, and I ended up hosting by default one day. And then Jeb's going, we need to get your computer better if we're going to do this more regularly.
But I'm also, you know, just at this point, I'm going to, you know, shout out nepotism, because, you know, I'm happy to get on via that. That's absolutely fine. You know, nothing about the quality of me as a presenter or as a competitor in anything, just nepotism. Like, oh, my friends run a competition, get me involved. Yeah. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But only for me. Nobody else is allowed. Just me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
FMT will take over the playoffs one day. Don't worry.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's the extension of FMT. To be honest, it's like, oh, so we've got our podcast arm, we've got our playoffs arm, we've got.
Exactly. We're going places. Not the stock market. Never the stock market. I don't understand the stock market, but, you know, If somebody can explain that to me.
It's a bit like the transfer market, I think. Just look at the wonder kid companies. You know, they always tend to go really well. Like, you know.
Okay. Can I gamble on
stockpile loads of them? Just
yeah. This company's been trading for 7 days. This is probably where I put all of my money.
This is absolutely fine. Yeah, I've done a quick scouting report, and you know, some of these companies' attributes look like they could be really, really high. I'm just going to invest now, and they've come back and they're all as low as they possibly could have been. What are the chances? Very high.
Tony
very
invested in bread. That's just doing all right with bread. Thank you.
Exactly. They call him Tony Warburton's, but not to his face. Not to his face.
Sadly, it wasn't actually bread. It was the Liverpool sitcom from the 80s.
That will go places. Hey, with the Neighbours reboot, I'm banking on bread coming back.
It always
also invested in Jossie's Giants. And
wow.
Now we're alienating some audience right now. We're alienating.
Aren't we? Yeah. Tony's currently in talks to play the title role in the new reboot of Kes. So he's, honestly, any BBC afternoon children's programming designed for school. Now we're talking.
Look forward to my new podcast, The Whizbit Show, which is
that's a reference. Wow.
There it is. We've done it. We've absolutely done it. Whizbits. It's canon now. It's in the podcast. It's there forever. Tony, I've got a bone to pick with you. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Here we go. We got to the juicy bit. Go on.
Yeah, I know.
Get him, Rich.
Nobody else listen. I'm a bit cross with you, mate, because for about the last year, I've had the self-imposed title of hardest working stand-up comedian in the Football Manager space, because I've been averaging about 5 gigs a year.
Yeah.
You know, which is literally all it took, because I'm tired and I'm busy. But you know, five seemed like the right amount. Somebody has decided to just take that title from me recently, because somebody is gigging again. He's back on the
back, baby.
He's doing the jokes. How's the transition back to a stage in front of real life human beings been for you, pal?
It's weird, isn't it? It's probably weird. It's been. So I mean, like, obviously, stand up was a huge part of my life pre-pandemic. Football Manager, of course, was part of that stand up. Pandemic hit, gigs stopped working, stopped running. I had a second child born just before the pandemic as well. So like we had a lockdown baby with another young child as well. So the timing to get back out gigging was sort of like, wasn't quite right. And then there was full-time comics who were relying on those gigs for their income. And I was sort of like, well, look, you know, I'm in quite a fortunate position. Like I have another job, like we haven't been furloughed, like we can, like we're okay. Like, you know, we don't need to be desperately chasing after those gigs. So I sort of like, well, look, you know, I'm not going to push as much. I'm not in a position where I should be going and doing comedy right now. And then it turned out that really just kept going and going and going. And I never thought much about getting back on the horse. And I had a couple of calls from like do a couple of gigs, and then did it 1 year, and then I did another couple of gigs the next year, and then I was like, maybe I do something. And long story short, I've ended up doing about 5 gigs this month already, and then I've got some stuff in the diary for November and December, and yeah, I think I'm slowly making a comeback. Like local, really, like sort of promoters I've worked with a lot in the past, not having to travel too far, because you know it's that's the bit that I've not been used to for many years, is getting in the car and sitting there for a couple of hours. So that's not great, especially having worked all day and then been up and about with the kids during the night as well. So yeah, probably something local. We'll try and get some bits and pieces doing. I'm enjoying it. I'm back and enjoying it. That's a big thing. Obviously, I figured getting on stage, and if I didn't enjoy it straight away, then that would be the answer of have I missed it. But I always say now, I'm now having to say like 15 years in comedy, but I've got an asterisk for like 3 years that are unaccounted for. A bit like my European trophies in the British Steel. Like I've got 17 trophies, but an asterisk that says 20 really. And yeah, so we are working towards getting some bits and pieces back. And I know that we said off camera, there's also potentially another reason that why we're back doing stand-up. And maybe is the answer to that. I am going to mention it because obviously there's people that listen and go,
cryptic.
what's he on about?
That's it. Good night, everybody.
I'm very happy with that. I understand the reference, but there's somebody out there that's going, what?
Well, if you don't get the reference, you need to work harder for this.
There've been clues all the way through the podcast.
Yeah. So follow me on Twitter. No, it's 10 years since I did Football Manager in my life, which is really bizarre to think that it's been 10 years. And it was 10 years of a show that started off as a silly idea and ended up into a much sillier idea, really. Ended up touring, which I shouldn't have been doing at the time, but was very, very fortunate that a few opportunities came and we had a great time doing it. And we've spoken a few times on stream about, like, is it time for a reboot? There's a lot of people who haven't seen the show, which you can see on YouTube, by the way, if you want to go and have a look at that. It is still up on there, and it went up in its entirety. I can't watch it again because it's 10 years old, so I physically can't watch it. But you should, and you should. And
I have. It's very good.
Bless you. It's very kind of you. Very kind of you. But we need to rewrite it. It can't. There's so much has changed. There's a lot of stuff that I predicted that ended up happening though. So I'm a little bit like Tony Darmus. So a lot of stuff that we predicted did come true. I think Si Maggio as well called me one of the first ever content creators as well, because I mentioned a bit about Blythe Spartans 50 years in the future. He's like, that's content now. Like, you were doing that 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, I suppose I was actually. Yeah, that's a good shout. So we might rewrite the show with some bits and pieces. Obviously, there's loads of stuff that's happened in the last 10 years. We've done British Steel. We had the link up with Odds Ball Club, came out of nowhere, podcasting, friendships. There's a lot to talk about now. So yeah, maybe if I can find 2 hours worth of funny in Football Manager again, if I can find 2 hours worth of funny in general, right, and be on stage again and getting the brain to think that way, then if we can find 2 years worth of funny in it, then yeah, we'll look to approach a few people and say, look, can we come and do it again? So yeah, that might be a thing.
There you go. Which is, I find that exciting as a fan of stand-up comedy, as a fan of Football Manager, and as somebody that doesn't mind Tony. I think that to me is the trifecta. I don't think that there are many people who do anything creative that like to go, will go back and watch or kind of interact with much older content that they've made. But it's a really good show. It was a brilliant show. Let's be honest. It was such a solid hour of stand-up. And it just speaks to me on a personal level because I like stand-up football, I like stand-up comedy, and I like Football Manager. Stand-up football also quite good. Lying down football, sure, why not? Let's just incorporate all of these. Hey, look, we made it. An hour and 50 minutes into the record before I said something. Before I just did a flub. Before I got my words wrong. Carlos Valderrama, National League. They all count. They all count. Now, I think it's brilliant, mate. I'm really happy that you're doing it again. I'm happy that you're back on stage. And it's streaming is so many similarities between hosting a stream and gigging at the same time. There's so many, because you're engaging people, you're holding conversations. It's almost like you're doing warm weather training. That's basically what it is. Just it's fundamentally the same thing. If you get heckled, you just pretend that it's chat. Like that's fine.
It's great. I've blocked several people during a gig now. It's really, really good. And then at the end of the show, I just get everyone out and we run into another venue. It's really bizarre, but
yeah, it's great. But
let's go and raid the cocktail bar. That's what we do. Everyone gets out, we run in. Some people stay, some people leave. Still, it's not for me, thank you. But yeah, it's brilliant. And then that bar shout out, "Hey, it's Tony's in!"
And then one person might come to your next gig. That's just the way that it works. It's a beautiful system, and it should never change. No, it's good. I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy that you're back, because it just takes that pressure off me. Hardest working comedian in the FM space. Not anymore.
Well, we might need a support act if you know of anybody as well.
Yeah, I could put some names forward.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah, Kev's really funny.
Kev's naturally funny. Yeah, it might look a lot like me. I was about to say with a big pair of silly glasses and a fake mustache, but that's just what I look like. So
that's the first joke of the set.
Yay! See, I wouldn't open with it. We'll workshop it afterwards.
Yeah.
We can make it. We can get through. We can get through.
I know what you're thinking. Rich Owens let himself go. He has. He really has. He really has.
Yeah. Give us a cheer if it's first time seeing Rich Owens. Hey. Give us a cheer if you've seen him before. The first ones sound much happier. Fantastic. Fantastic. You never lose it. You never lose it. Now, I am conscious we've been recording for a little while. I can't remember how much preamble there was after I first hit record, so we're just going to roll with it, if I'm honest with you, because I'm just having a nice time. Yeah. This is just a nice way to spend a Sunday morning. One of the last things we kind of wanted to do with you, mate, is, the podcast is called Football Manager Therapy. Mm-hmm. Let's be, it was massively beneficial to you and Matt during the pandemic times. That was great. And what we don't want to do is kind of just shy away. We don't want to forget that aspect of what we kind of try and do, especially when we're talking to friends or talking to guests. So I pose our next question for you, Tony. How are you, mate? How's it going? Just outside of Segundo Volantes and stand-up comedies.
Well, I am in therapy now, so I suppose that is really sort of has gone full circle a little bit. Mm-hmm. Again, we talk about Tony Darmas predicting things. That very much was the situation when Matt and I started the podcast. We were like, right, we need this as sort of some sort of semblance and balance to reality, which was going on at the time with the escapism and everything. But yeah, I think it's been. I have treated the pandemic in a very opportunistic kind of way. I know there's a whole lot of rubbish that happened with the pandemic, and people obviously really did struggle and lost a lot of things and lost a lot of people. I'm choosing to look at the opportunities that it created in terms of sitting and looking at people deciding upon whether they're in the right jobs, the right relationships, the right headspace. And I decided that I wasn't in the right headspace at all. I think it's a lot of time when you sit in the same four walls, and you can only really work out, are you happy with how life is right now? Are you happy with your personality? Are you happy with everything that you've done? And I think that sometimes comedy was a nice way of covering up some of those feelings and those emotions that I had, because I just kept myself busy. And obviously during the pandemic, you weren't able to keep yourself busy because you couldn't do anything. And then, of course, add in a couple of young children as well, and it's just, with a lack of sleep, you then go, well, look, here is where we are. And I thought, you know what, it's probably time for a bit of self-care, I think, to be honest. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what, I think this is probably further down the line of just, I'll have a bit of CBD and less coffee. Like, it was more a case of like, I need to probably get out and talk to someone. So I made a phone call, talking now about 6 months ago, possibly, I think it was. And there was there's a charity in York, where I'm based, called Menfulness. I think they're a national charity as well, actually. There's certainly like the little groups, things like Andy's Man Club sort of style charity, and they were doing a free 6 sessions of therapy. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Like, let's have a little go at that. Let's try and go and have a conversation. Because again, I know that like the NHS waiting list is like so long for people, and people are in a bad spot and aren't getting the help that they need. So what I would say is, if you're in that position and you are ready to go and seek some help, Google things, local charities close to your area, because there will be stuff that are there, and they have a bit of funding and stuff, and they might be able to get you in the system quicker than if you have to wait via the NHS. And again, that's in a privileged position of being able to afford to add it going forward, because it was 6 sessions for free. Then after that, it was like, right, you have to pay for each session. And I know obviously some people can't do that as well. But I said to Mrs. J, I was like, look, I've got a figure in my head of how much I'm willing to pay, and thankfully it turned out a lot less. And I was like, oh, cool. We might as well then. Let's just do this. And I feel as though it's benefited me. I think I certainly feel as though that I'm getting some of my thoughts and my feelings out. There's some stuff which I can improve upon and work upon. There's some stuff which I think I kind of, unfortunately, there's no budging on at all. And we've got to the point where it's like, oh, well, we either deal with that, or we burn on every single bridge that's ever come in. That's a difficult one to have to take. We've talked about aliens, which is weird. We've talked about so again, like, it's one of those things where it's like, she understands now that where I'm coming from, very much a case of like, I'm not a straightforward thinker. So I'm probably the most obvious case that she's got, but I also think I'm the most interesting case that she's got, because, as you all know, I just keep talking until someone stops me. So I start off with, I think this, and then we get over there. Like you remember in The Office, the American Office, where Michael Scott delivers the meeting about planets, and it's like, but we started off about paper and how we use paper, and then how we looked at how other people use paper, and then how other people in different planets use paper, and then we started to work out how small we were. I've done that sort of thing almost, like not word for word clearly, but I started off with one thing, and then we've ended up into universe chat, and she's just went, time's up. And I'm like, yeah, and it's not, but she's just like, go. But yeah, but I mean, that's where we are. Like, I think overall, I'm pretty good. Overall. I'd say, like, on average week, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. I'll take that. The odd day I'm an 8, the odd day I'm a 9. But that's certainly better than it has been. And yeah, I think it's certainly working better now, and being open about it as well, and be like, right, this is where I am, and this is where my head's at the minute. But yeah, definitely getting the help is certainly a big improvement. And I would say as well to anyone else who's in the same situation, if you can get some help, go and get some help, and definitely open up and talk to people. And that's what we love about this podcast and like sort of the Discord communities that we've all built. It's been driven on being open, being honest. Again, predominantly men not talking about this sort of stuff. We have to be open. We're of a generation. Obviously, not you young kids yourselves. Like you're in your 25s, But me, I'm 43. I'm of a generation that obviously didn't talk about that sort of stuff. It was all bottled up. And from the Northeast, you don't have things like feelings. We couldn't afford them, right? So we just we and it's like now I'm looking around the world, going, well, yeah, I've got 2 young kids to look after. I need to be in a better position to give them the best I can give them. And so, right, take a bit of time off and go and do that. So that's where we're at.
So that's really refreshing to hear, because like I say, the most difficult thing can be talking about it. That can be one of the hardest things. It's been, I spoke last week about how I've been really struggling over the last kind of month or so, and it's being self-aware enough, because that's what I struggle with. I'm not self-aware enough to realize when I'm struggling. I just throw myself in stuff or try and distract myself with other things, which, and when you don't stop getting the enjoyment from the things that you should be getting enjoyment from, that in and of itself should be like a telltale sign. I was having a chat with my wife the other night, and she was talking about how it was about this time last month, I think, that I'm lucky enough, and we released the EP that I recorded last year down at Abbey Road. Wonderful experience, but that I was just completely nonplussed about. Once it was out there, I was just like, like that should have been a much bigger deal, and I was very blasé, just like.
I think there was parts of the tour that was like that as well, like not fully taking in the enormity of what was going on, because I just treated as well. Yeah, like we're just touring, like aware now with distance from it, to be like, what on earth are we doing touring, like, only a few years into comedy, like, no, like, that shouldn't have happened. Like, saying, looking at the show now, I can see so many things that are wrong with it, with so much experience, but the opportunity is there. You have to take it, like, but not fully appreciating what's happening while you're doing it. Like, the show itself, the record is like recorded in front of 300 people in Newcastle. Like, I've sold out a venue that's 300 people. I don't know 300 people, and I certainly don't know 300 people in the Northeast. Like, it's not like one of those, you get some comics who are known in their area, so it's their homecoming gig and everyone comes out for it. I'm not particularly popular with people like that. I keep people at
now there's a sound bite for our podcast. I'm not particularly popular,
but I'm not. Like, I've got a few close friends that I've got, right, and I've got some acquaintances and that sort, and I've got like colleagues and that sort of stuff. But I don't have, like, if I put a show on like now, like, I wouldn't be able to get a load of people to come straight away. I'd get some, but I wouldn't be. There's some people who are just so much more popular, like, and they have friends who are really, really supportive and all that sort of stuff, and they'll come and do stuff. And like, I think that is one of those things where I don't understand, and I've never considered just how big a deal a lot of this stuff is. Things with streaming, like getting into this, can be the best and worst thing for your brain, as well, as I'm sure you all understand this. Like, Dr. Stage can be brilliant. Dr. Stage covered up a lot of problems over the past few years because I just go on stage and it'd be fine. And Mrs. J would be like, "You can tell you've not had a gig for 3 days. You're a bit angsty. Like that adrenaline's got to go somewhere." On stream, some people, and I've done it myself, and I'm sure we've all done it as well. We've jumped on, and within seconds you shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be there. Like this is not going to go well, right? And you just go, right, well, we'll just do what we do. And it's like, you almost feel compelled to do it. Okay. Now, hear a lot of words as well. I've said this openly a few times about the grind. Like, I've just got to grind this bit out. I've just got to, like, I'm struggling to get this extra bit done. I've just got to get that. I've got to get it done. Like, no, you don't. Once you realize you don't, because it's not your job, oh, it's so much easier. Like stand-up comedy, when it was my job, was horrible. Stand-up comedy, when I had an extra job and then all my gigs were extra, meant stand-up comedy was so much more fun because I could be myself. I wasn't putting pressure on myself to smash that gig to come back to pay the bills. I was just going, being myself, having fun and getting invited back. Streaming's the same. Hardly any of us in the community space are full-time streamers. There's a reason for that. There's only a finite amount of people who can do this sort of thing. And most of us are doing it because it's fun. But all of us should be doing it because it's fun. No one's forcing us to hit go live. No one's forcing us to make a podcast. No one's forcing us to make YouTube videos. Kev, you made the really smart decision to come off YouTube because it didn't work for you. Mm-hmm. Whereas you could still be sat there making videos, putting loads of pressure on yourself, getting 7 views, and then feeling really crap about it. Like people sitting and going, "Oh, but I've only got so many viewers, and I've just got to be like, I've just got to get on." Like, if you're not feeling it, don't go on. Like, it's you decide. No one, you're not at the mercy of anybody. Like, you got to just have fun with it. And if it's not fun, stop doing it. Take a bit of time off, come back to it, reevaluate what it is you wanted from it in the first place. And if it is, I've started streaming or making a podcast because I want to get more views, because I want to get famous, because you're in it for the wrong reasons. It goes but straight back to the playoffs. You're in it for the wrong reasons. Work out what you want to be in there for. I came into this space because I saw a little gap and I wanted to add a bit of quality and a bit of something in there. And I thought I can bring something to it. Not what can I take out of it, what can I add into it? And that's where I go with it.
I like it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's a smart way it's a really, really smart way of looking at it. You know, I think there was somebody tweeted earlier this week. I think it was either other Kev, our friend Lujo, recent podcast guest, or it was Ben, and they were talking about people, and it's a similar kind of, it's because it's that word grind. Mm-hmm. When was the last, with the exception of if you're Tony Hawk, when was the last time that grinding was fun in any way, shape, or form? It's just such a weird aspirational word. And I think it was either Kev or Ben. They were talking about I think it was the new FIFA or EAFC, as they call it now, and saying people are complaining there's nothing left to grind in the game. The game's been out for 3 weeks and they've run out of things to grind. It's like, but if you're grinding, like, that's not a word that I ever associate with enjoyment. It's not anything that I ever associate with a good time. So why do it? Why force yourself to do that?
R&B music in the early 2000s is probably the only other place where grinding would be seen as a positive.
Yes. I don't see nothing wrong with a little bump and grind. But you got to have the bump as well. Without the bump, it's horrible.
Maybe that's
horrible business. Yeah.
Grinding gearboxes aren't fun, are they?
No. Just bump, awful. Just grind, woeful. But together, now we're talking. No, it's good. And it's really refreshing just to hear somebody just talking, just very openly about it. You know, I tried to do it last week at the start of our record, and it felt really cathartic. You know, and it's really, you know, it's just nice. You know, the amount of times you just ask people out there, like, yeah, everything's fine. It's not fine. It's not fine. And that was me. That was absolutely me last month or so. And like I say, my lack of self-awareness didn't help me in terms of realizing that, you know, I wasn't doing okay. And now I'm doing much better. Look at me go. Thriving, not surviving, as we all are. Lovely stuff. Now we're starting to get towards the end of proceedings today, I think. Before we start to wrap up, there were some questions. Some from us, and possibly some from you, Tony.
Shall I do my question now?
Would you like to? Because, you know, we do like it. Again, if it's the first time you're listening or watching the pod, when we have a guest on like Tony, we do like to offer them the opportunity to kind of, you know, because we sit there, we ask questions about all sorts of things. But it feels a bit one-sided, doesn't it? So we thought it'd be nice if, you know, we offer our guests the opportunity, if they have a question for us, to, you know, this is your time, Tony. This is your time to do so.
You are very, very kind. So what I will do is I will ask a question. Right? I will get some
I'm out of here. Good to see you. Lunchtime's up.
It's so again. I also have the football game company. It's players to play for Juventus. Time starts now. One question I'm going to ask, and it's to all three of you really, and it is. It's a two-part question because I'm gonna get my money's worth, right? What have you learned in the last 12 months as a podcast collective, and what have you enjoyed the most?
That's a
Cue
really good
silence
question.
For the next 30 seconds of the podcast.
Cue silence. Well, as we've discussed earlier, my remit is just sitting and talking, so I'm happy. I'm happy to go first. Feel free to ponder on it, lads, or if you've got something now, just you know, just take the time for yourselves. Enjoy it. The thing that I've learned, and I guess with me, we've kind of touched upon it previously, is that I wasn't capable of doing this on my own. You know, it sounds like a dramatic thing to say, but hosting a podcast on my own or being completely responsible for something on my own was never going to work for me. So, and I think spending the last year around Jeb and Kev, and also more recently Callum, obviously Alice, early doors as well, it's kind of taught me that, you know, it's important to address the things that I struggle with in terms of especially my organizational skills, which are abysmal. And I think it's fair to say, you know, I'm not ashamed of that. You know, and if anybody said that to me, I wouldn't be offended by it. So, you know, learning how to interact and organize and that collective experience with people, forming those in terms of working towards something, is something that I think, touch wood, I'm better at now than I was a year ago. I'm still not brilliant at it, but it's something that I'm a lot more conscious of than I previously was. I think that's definitely what the last year has taught me. And in terms of what I've enjoyed, is getting to know Kev, Jeb, and Callum more. You know, again, I very much like you, Tony. I've got a few friends, I've got some acquaintances, I've got colleagues. I look forward to my Sunday mornings. You know, I said earlier, you know, again, or bringing it full circle again, when Tony left pod, when got the opportunity to go work for the Athletic, on a personal level, I was sad that I wasn't going to get to spend so much time with my friend Tony anymore. The flip side of that coin is that I now get to spend time with my friends Kev and Jeb and Callum every week, and that's been the best thing for me. You know, again, I wouldn't say it to any of their faces, but you know, they're great friends and they're great people, and I'm really, really grateful for the amount of time that I've got to spend with them over the last year. But again, never to their faces, never shall they know this has happened. I've tried to mute them when I was saying that, but it didn't work, so they might have heard it. So if they have, sorry. Super awkward.
My memory's not good. It will go.
Perfect. That's all. That's all that matters. There we go.
Jeb, have you got something?
I was going to let you go first.
Okay, I will happily go first. It's fine. So I've learned a lot, actually. It's been a really interesting year in a lot of ways. And some of it could be perceived as a positive new thought about yourself, but some of it slightly on the sort of negative side, maybe at first glance. I mean, one of the first things I would say is a year ago when I was asked, do you want to come and be a part of the podcast? My immediate thought would, who would want to listen to me sit on a podcast every week and chat about random stuff. I don't know whether that would be something people would want. And I learned that ultimately I've got a voice and it's okay to use it. And there's an opportunity to do that. And, you know, sometimes it's going to hit and sometimes it's going to miss, and that's all fine. So there's a lot in that I've kind of unpacked for myself. I think, you know, the joy of the podcast is ultimately you get to put something out every week and be proud of something that you've been part of as a collective, which is great. But as Rich was saying, it's that hour before we press record. That's the best bit of our podcast. It just is getting together on a Sunday morning and checking in and catching up and having a laugh over stuff and singing the theme tune every time we end a podcast record, even though nobody else hears it, and all sorts of random stuff that happens. And, you know, we get to sort of journey together with each other in sort of life terms as well. I mean, Callum's just about to have his first baby. It's the first official podcast baby, I think, potentially, you know, and all that kind of interesting stuff that you get to kind of journey alongside people, which is amazing. But yeah, I learned an awful lot, and I just learned that I really love to chat with these guys and have a great time reminiscing about stuff and talking about the game that we love. It's been fantastic. It's 22. The highlight of my FM22 was being on the playoffs, and that is still a big part of what I love. FM23, the best part of my cycle has been the podcast, without a shadow of a doubt.
It's because you're unsackable. That's why. There you go. It's that instant lack of pressure, untouchable. That's the United City FM in FMT terms. Untouchable, and long may that remain.
Yeah, I've learned to get up before 10 a.m. on a Sunday.
Sorry about that, Deb.
There's two 10 o'clocks. It's weird, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
I mean,
Who knew?
Great. Yeah. I mean, 38 years it's taken me to do that. But yeah, no, I've obviously made some great friends through this, and like there've been people that have been in streams and we chatted over the playoffs. But like, I think it is that learning of getting to know each other, and it builds that rapport, and that it builds a thinking, and like even just communicating through the weeks. Like the Lulujo podcast was a big thing, but Kev and Rich were there in the background through all of it as well. It wasn't a case of it was just me and Callum doing it. Kevin and Rich were there. There was obviously the 2-hour panic where Lulujo didn't show up as well, and we didn't hear from him. There is 20 minutes of me and Callum recording the start of a podcast. Then he gets a DM going, "Oh, he's messaged finally." So we got that sort of. But we had a phone call. We had a conversation with Rich. We had a phone call with Kev as well in that interim, going over it. And it was just like we're always here for each other, and I think that's quite a thing. It's like a nice, really collective form, and it's the same. Like the FM community opens up that way. Some of the stuff that I've really enjoyed is it's the network save, the Monday night on the network save, popping Rich on a weekly basis, like finding anything. And I can just make Rich cry with laughter. And I think I even got Kev this week with the Carlton Palmer sound bites, just throwing them into the stream. I mean, yeah, it was one of those things. So I think people saw Casino Square was very generous, and he gave a lot of gift subs out to people. Like I said, I'm not struggling for money, so I use that gift sub money to recycle to get all these audio clips, and just to give those out was really nice. But I tried to get Chris Waddle for Rich, as I told him, and we got Callum Palmer, and that arguably that's probably better just because of how good and bad it is at the same time. And he was just playing those sound clips, and I was like, why have I only just started doing this now? And like while we were streaming, because the best part with the network save is you can go silent during network save because Kevin Rich will always be talking in the background. So while they're talking in the background, I'm just working on the audio. Right, how can we merge these together? And they merge together greatly. So
you know when Jeb goes quiet for 10 minutes that he's doing something that's going to come back at some point. Yeah. But that is right. Yeah. I do love that moment on a Monday evening. There is a moment where Rich just goes deathly silent, and you know it's because he's laughing so hard that he can't actually speak for 3 seconds. It's just fantastic.
It's even like the chaos of when we call him Jamie when he came into the network save.
He has an infiltrator onto the network save. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's things like that. Like what you've done there is brilliant, and the fact that you're continuing into FM24 as well is such a great idea. Like, people have asked to do network saves before with all of us, and it's like it's literally like, as we've said before, putting the panel together. You got to get the right dynamic, because if you don't get the right dynamic, it just doesn't work. And you've been really fortunate that you've been able to get a dynamic that, of course, works really nicely, and your calendars have all synced up to be able to get some games played as well, and that's fantastic. So I'm going to ask one tiny little final question: What's the future hold? What's the future hold?
whatever Rich tells us it's allowed to hold because he's a dictator and he's a tyrant and you don't know. Help! I'm blinking. I'm blinking. I'm blinking.
Yeah. I'm awful. I see this. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, you can't. Audio listeners, I'm just holding up my iron fist. It's terrifying and it's massive, and I rule with it. Look, I'm looking forward to, like you said earlier, Tony. I think we have comfortably found where we sit in the broader picture of football manager based podcasts. You know, I think we do what we do quite nicely. I'm happy that we're community led. I'm happy that, you know, we talk about, it's not just about us. It's not just about our experiences with the game. It's about what we're seeing from other people. And that's one of the things that I think you are very good at as well. At the end of a Tony Jameson stream, you know, the amount of, you know, you're not necessarily looking for, right, who's streaming at the moment we can go raid, who's got the most viewers on, so right, let's go find the guy that's got 2 people in and let's go drop 60 odd people on him and make his day, because it absolutely does. Anybody who streams, makes content, does it live, especially when you're starting out, suddenly just a raft of people from somebody who, chances are you've probably watched their content, there's no nicer feeling. There's absolutely no nicer feeling. I still get it now. It's wonderful. Like, we like to, you know, shout people out. We like to give people, you know, we like to talk about the good work that people are doing, because the space is exponentially bigger than it was, you know, 18 months ago, 2 years ago. And there's been there's a new breed of content creator that's come through. There's like this new wave of people. It's not just the old guard anymore. There's so many up and coming, really, really good newer creators. And it's being able to, you know, give them a platform, talk about the good work they're doing. It's like, oh, I saw this person streaming, they're brilliant. Or this person I was in a draft with somebody and I'd never met this person before, and they were really engaging, really great fun to talk to. It's nice to be able to do that. And I'm excited to build on it. I'm excited about what the future's holding for us. You know, we've had a really, really great raft of guests recently. Obviously yourself, Tony, other Kev a few weeks ago. You know, there's some other people that we're, you know, having conversations with who might have forgotten that they were due on podcasts at some point. So we're trying to get them back in. You know, I'm looking forward to having those conversations with people. I just really like podcasting. You know, that's where it is for me. And I'm looking forward to getting to do that with my friends. Again, that's the most important aspect of it for me. You know, and also FM24, that's probably going to be quite good as well, I suppose. But, you know, mainly this. It gives us a platform, doesn't it? It does give us a platform. Also, in answer to your previous question, Tony, Edgar Davids. There you go. Juve player. That's the only one I can think of. I'm out. I'm done. That's me sorted. No others spring to mind. Or will. Done. That's me out. Jeb, you have a question. I've heard a rumor floating around. There was something you wanted to ask.
And I can be really lazy with it as well, because we are going to play the football game co.
Yay!
And we're going to do teams _ manager has managed. I'm going to add an S to the managers. You've got to name teams everyone else has managed on FM23.
Also, so yourselves, or everyone else in general, as in like the whole community space?
Everyone else. No, just the people on the podcast. So
just the people on the podcast.
So Rich, you would name people Kev and Tony have managed. Tony will name Rich and Kev. And Rich, Kev, you would be Rich and Tony. And I don't even know all the answers, but you should know.
God. Oh God!
Right,
I'm struggling to remember ones I've managed.
God, I've not watched Rich all year. God.
You've missed out on so little, so little. Right, am I starting?
No, don't say any of Rich's, because leave them for Tony.
Don't be nice to the guest. Right.
Okay, am I starting?
Yes.
Okay. Right then. Brighton.
Brighton. Cool.
Twice.
I was going to say it again next time.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's go with Arsenal. I thought Tony had managed Arsenal.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, he'd been at Arsenal.
Are you starting at the start? Yes, even I was trying to remember when that was.
All right, if we're going to be like that, Valencia. Right?
I mean, I've done them twice as well. Both as bad as each other.
Valencia again. No. Okay. Fiorentina.
Sunderland.
West Ham.
Tony's actually using a pen here, I've noticed.
I know. Tony's in the last year. Tony's also learned reading and writing, which is
No. Tony's just drawing pictures.
Don't hold it up. We don't want the mini video to get demonetized. Right, it's my turn, isn't it? Celtic.
Man City. For Rich.
Has Kev managed Fulham?
Currently.
Still managing them.
And,
Yeah, haven't been sacked there.
Yeah, doing a Luke Chadwick is delighted. Lazio.
Tottenham.
Were you at Leicester, Rich?
I was, and then I jumped ship and I went somewhere else, but I'm not going to say where. It was something Scandinavian, probably. That seems quite one of those Scandinavian Premier League clubs that I cannot get enough of managing. Right then, so I'm just remembering which direction Kev went after he left. Okay, so he went to Puskas Academia.
Berwick.
Shakhtar Donetsk.
I'm glad people are nodding.
That's the giveaway. Right, everybody else completely just po face for the next bit, or just nod because I'm just going to say. Right then, where else? Linfield.
AEK. Was that Rich?
Say again.
One of yours? No.
Say again.
Oh, if
Say
it's
it
not
again. Sorry.
If it's not AEK, then it's not AEK. That's all I've got.
AIK.
AIK. Okay.
AIK.
I was close.
Do you know what makes complete?
Go for it, boys.
Do you know what makes complete sense about that? Again, apologies, audio listeners. I managed AIK, but for whatever reason, there's an AIK there. Because, yep, never managed them, never watched them play. Don't know why I own it. It's a men's small, so I've never been a men's small, but it's just there. So, sure, why not?
Are we continuing?
I think,
Yep.
it's got to be a last man standing.
AIK.
Wow.
Horrible.
Oh,
They
magical.
were lies, right?
Come on, Rich. Come on, Rich. Do him, Rich. Go on.
No.
Get him.
Right. Okay. Right. I'm just trying to remember. No. All I can remember Tony talking about is Swansea Met, but he definitely didn't manage there. Why bring that up? Right. I'm gonna have to take a punt. Was it CSK Sofia? Nope. I've completely forgotten.
So you let Tony win. Unbelievable.
I know. Did you have any more lined up, Tony?
I was gonna say Midtjylland.
Yeah, there you go. See,
Yeah.
you had it.
Yeah.
You had it.
And I thought he started at Odds Ball Club, but there's part of me going, I don't think he did. I think he avoided it. He definitely did. You both did Rosenborg.
No, I did.
Rosenborg was last year for you, yeah.
He did.
Yeah. No, I did. I did odd. I started at Odd, and then I was at Rosenborg within 5 months.
Rosenborg, yeah,
I just picked the wrong nation to go within the Scandi stuff because I had Odds Ball Club in the back of my head as well. I just got Got
I had
the wrong
Pushkas
initials.
Academia as well, and then Rich went with that. And I was like, "Oh, right, okay. Well, we're off to the Ukraine. Then we'll go right back to the start."
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a really easy one, particularly for Rich, because the amount of clubs that Kev and Tony have been this season, like,
Yeah. Just, where did I get CSK Sofia from? That's frustrating. Oh, it's fine. I'll kick myself after we stop recording repeatedly. That's just gonna be me for the rest of the day now. Really, really angry. Sat angrily in the shower. Just thinking, what is CSK Sofia? Because it's what I do. It's part of my process after we finish recording podcasts on a Sunday. Angry shower. That was good. I liked that. As soon as I saw clubs and managers, I was like, I have a feeling I know where this is going. It was a nice one. It was a nice one. Good job Callum's not here, because Slough, that's it. One club. Yeah, who does that? Who does that?
He had that blue period where he's managing blue.
Oh yeah, didn't he?
Oh, Blue-rup
or something.
Yeah.
Blue-rup, yeah. That was his blue period. And then Slough, up the Slough, all Slough forever. There we go. That was nice. We should probably start to wrap up now, I suppose, on account of us having recorded for a really long time, but not for a bad time, just for a long time. It's been great. What we like to do at the end of our pod is we all just, little plugs, where people can find us or what we're going to be up to. Tony, we'll start with you, pal. Obviously, FM24 is just around the corner. I know you've recently announced your plans for FM24. Please feel free to tell the people what they are and where they can find you doing it.
I plan to. I plan to build a nation in Greece. Whether that happens or not, the end product will, of course, be announced at the end of FM24. Whether or not we've built or destroyed Greece, I would like to think we built it, but we're starting with a club called Larissa in the second division. So we're going to build a nation for our main save. So you can come and find that if you wish. Can I also plug the FM show live, which is happening
under no circumstances,
the 6th of November, because nothing else is happening on that day in the Football Manager space.
Stole the Football Manager therapy slot. I can't believe it.
I know. Well, it was already booked in. This is the irony. So it was all booked. We did discuss it last year. We'll come back, and then we got a phone call from the promoter going, "Are you coming back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but see how it says FMT? Can you just change that to just FM and then show after it?" So
the Canal House did tag us in a tweet advertising us. So soz. It's awkward.
So it was awesome what we did with the FMT show last year. We're doing the FM show at the Canal House in Nottingham this year. So on November the 6th, Nottingham Canal House. The game will take ages to download anyway, so you might as well just come to the show and bring your laptop. It's got some fine ales and some lovely coffee as well. So come for an hour of chat, and then more importantly, like we did with the FMT show last year, just a community vibe. Like, come and meet people, use it as an FM meetup, and if you're going to come on your own, that's cool, because you will leave, cliche as it sounds, you will leave with some friends. So come and do that. That's what I suggest. If you can do, check that out. And in terms of plugs, I'm going to plug yourselves to us. So you just go and check your stuff out, because that's what it's all about. Content community is all about sharing other people's content. I think definitely go and give these people a follow, give them a watch, and just engage with them as FM24 happens. And of course, sign up to Patreon as well. That's what you should be doing.
Absolutely, yeah. Get on that. Get on the Patreon. Just completely off topic. Twitch.tv/Tony Jameson FM. Just don't know why. Just going to throw it out there.
Can we get Carlton Palmer to do it for me, please? Loads of full stops in there. That'd be great.
Twist.
Twist.tony./
Anthony Jameson.fm. There you go. That's the one. Great content over there at Twist. Great content. Kev, what about you, my friend? Where can they find you making the beautiful content and creating the wonderful community that you create?
Thank you very much. You can always find me, mostly find me 3 till 5 p.m. UK time over on Twitch every weekday afternoon. Come and find us at the United City FM. The shout out that I'd like to give today is a slightly different one, if I may, though. With the open access, the beta coming very, very soon for FM24, it's a little bit quiet around the scene at the moment in terms of the FM community. Lots of people are taking that sort of week or so break or whatever it is. What I'd like you to do this week is go and remember to go and make a message to the streamer or the YouTuber that you usually watch that isn't currently doing it, and just ask them how they're doing and how their plans are for 24 coming along. Go and check in with them, because they will really appreciate the care and the attention that you're giving them in that sense. It's not just about when they go live. They are people behind the scenes. They've got other things going on. Go and check in with them. If you haven't seen them for a week because they're on a bit of a break, go and ask them how they're doing. Do that for me.
That's beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Absolutely love that. Jeb, what about you, my friend?
I'm probably about a week or two late with this one, and I think with somebody we shouted out before, but YouTube.com/FM-oldmanphil. Go support him, go support his streams, go watch his videos. They're actually wonderful. It's quite nice to see. He's had some heart problems, and there's various things that are happening with benefits and things like that. So he needs all the support he does get at the moment, and it's really important. And it's like I said, his content's actually really enjoyable to watch, and his live streams as well, and it's great. So go watch him, go give him your support. Even if it's just giving a like on a video, giving a like on a stream and stuff like that, it all helps. Gives him some monetization from there.
Yeah, I think he's got some 99 pence memberships as well on YouTube. So if you can afford to support him, then definitely do so.
Absolutely. One of the good guys. You've stolen my FM Phil, old man Phil. Shout out. So that was going to be my suggestion. You stop being so nice, everybody. Stop being so nice. Look, I guess my suggestion this week, not massively dissimilar to Kev's, is that it's the time of year we're about to move from FM23 into FM24. A lot of your the regular streamers that you may watch might be taking a little break. However, there are also going to be a number of people that aren't. This is the time of year where a lot of people in the past, and I know that I've done it towards the end of an FM cycle, when the larger creators start to take breaks and aren't occupying the space, some of the smaller creators like, right, well, if I get out there, at least, I'm going to be putting some content out there. So there's probably going to be a lot more names that you don't recognize if you're watching something like Twitch. If you click on who's streaming FM20, there's going to be a lot of names that you're not recognizing on there. So my recommendation for this week would be just go and take a chance on somebody that you have never watched before, because there's still going to be people out there doing it, and it's going to be people with smaller communities, and they are really going to appreciate your presence in their chat or watching their stream. That's going to mean as much to them as a raid from a giant streamer may mean to somebody else. So go take a chance on somebody new, because we always say your favorite new streamer is literally just a click away from you at all times. You never know when you're going to discover your new favorite person. So just take a punt on somebody this week. Go spend an hour in somebody new's company, because it's going to be a lot to them, and you never know, it might be your new favorite FM streamer. Or any game, but we're an FM-based podcast. Of course, we're going to recommend Football Manager. There we go. Go do that. Tell them that FMT sent you. They won't know what you're talking about. They'll think you're unwell. They think has a cat just walked over your keyboard? That makes no sense. Lovely. There we go, lads. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Because I've had a brilliant Sunday morning. I've really enjoyed this. Just to clarify though, before we do anything else, personally, I think this felt like a podcast. I don't know about you guys.
It did. It definitely did that.
Good. Okay, fantastic news. In which case, I think that's where we're going to call it a day. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I've had a lovely time. Thank you, Jeb. Thank you, Kev. Thank you to our guest, Tony. Thanks for coming back, mate. Massively appreciate it. We will catch you on the next one. You take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.